ended with 3 people dead in a crash. Also, rumors of hundreds of immigrants arriving in Whitewater caused a stir on social media. News 3 Now got to the bottom of what's really going on. And we know a lot about our lawmakers, where they live, what they believe in, but are they musical? Our political reporter Will Keneally has the scoop. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. It has been a pretty mild winter so far here in Wisconsin, but a winter storm system is headed our way. There could be some significant impact on travel from accumulating snow and also the wind. Let's get a look at your first warn forecast. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti out on the weather patio. Gary?
Eric, we still have that first warn weather alert day in the forecast for Tuesday and Tuesday night. Really, our thinking is pretty much the same, and as it's been the last couple of days, we're just kind of watching for some of the details. But at this point, we're looking at accumulating snow, probably several inches of accumulation at least, and windy conditions that could cause problems with some blowing and drifting snow. And this will be Tuesday into Tuesday night of next week. The time lapse in Madison showed cloudy skies for much of the day today, but it looks like things are actually starting to clear out a little bit. As we look at low temperatures this morning, they were down around 20 degrees in Madison. Most areas saw temperatures in the lower 20s. Right now, temperatures are in the mid to upper 20s through much of southern Wisconsin. Here in Dane County, Madison right now at 29 degrees. It's 30 in Middleton and 29 degrees in McFarland. Look for skies to become partly cloudy this evening. Temperatures holding nearly steady in the middle 20s. Later on, I'll take a look at what we know and what we're still unsure about the winter storm and kind of time it out for you as we head through the early part of next week.
The City of Monona PD, supported by Mayor Mary O'Connor, has decided to temporarily focus our pursuits on suspects who we believe to be involved in dangerous and violent felony offenses.
Well, that's Monona Police Chief Brian Cheney in a video address posted late last night responding to a Monona police chase Monday night that ended in a crash that killed 3 people. And in that video, he announced the department would be temporarily pulling back their chase efforts. Our Braden Ross joins us now with what we know about that decision and the investigation into the deadly crash. Braden?
Yeah, Chief Cheney and several Monona City officials have been in meetings all day here at City Hall discussing what's next after that chase. The 4th initiated by Monona police in just under a week ended tragically. Now, Cheney said this temporary shift in focus for the department is to allow members of the community and elected officials to weigh in on the department's chase policy. I spoke to one of those officials, Monona Alder Patrick DePula, today about how he's looking at the change. Here's what he told me.
We want to hear from the community at this point. We want to hear from Monona residents as elected officials what their opinion of this is, how they feel about the pursuit policy. So this is basically giving the police department a time for reflection also, because they're also affected by this in a great way.
Training and policies.
Now, the chief did not release further information about the specifics of the pause or how long it will last. He says he will speak to members of the media tomorrow. The chase and crash are still under investigation by the Wisconsin Department of Justice. We also learned the ages of those killed in that crash. 2 of the victims were 30 years old and one of them was 19 years old. We'll continue to follow this story as more develops. We'll talk to the chief tomorrow. You can catch all of that right here on News 3 Now. For now, in Monona, Braden Ross, News 3 Now.
All right, Braden, thank you. Authorities in Iowa are investigating a shooting at a high school northwest of Des Moines. Police say a 17-year-old student opened fire, killing a 6th grader and wounding 5 others. Michael George reports from New York.
Police and emergency crews surrounded Perry High School, about 40 miles from Des Moines, early Thursday morning, responding to reports of an active shooter.
They immediately made entry and witnessed students and faculty either sheltering in place or running from the school.
Once inside, officers located multiple people with gunshot wounds and quickly found what appeared to be the shooter with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
The shooter has been identified as 17-year-old Dylan Butler, a student at Perry High School. Butler was armed with a pump-action shotgun and a small caliber handgun.
Police say a 6th grader at Perry Middle School was killed.
This community has been through tough times before and have rallied together. I'm sure this time will be no different.
The incident occurred just as students were returning to school for the first time since holiday break in what residents say is a close-knit community.
Everyone knows each other. You don't really expect anything like this to happen.
Authorities are looking into social media posts the shooter made in and around the time of the shooting to determine a motive. The FBI is on the scene and is helping in the investigation. Michael George, CBS News.
Officials also say they found an explosive device at the school during their search, which was rendered safe. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is pushing back against critics who say he's purposefully failing to manage the southern border. Attempted crossings reached an all-time high last month. The White House has asked Congress for nearly $14 billion to hire immigration judges and agents, fund shelters, and provide surveillance. A bipartisan group of senators and the White House are trying to broker a compromise to combine that funding with policy changes. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson visited the border yesterday with dozens of House Republicans pushing for a return to Trump-era policies. In an interview on CBS Mornings, Mayorkas says he has no time to play politics.
What we are doing is enforcing our laws. And when people come to the United States at the border, they are placed in immigration enforcement proceedings. And those proceedings take many years because our system is broken and it is also underfunded.
Well, Speaker Johnson is trying to impeach Mayorkas. The first committee hearing on impeachment is scheduled for next week. In Whitewater, the topic of immigration has sparked rumors of hundreds of immigrants arriving in the city, but the reality of the immigration population in the city is more complex than the headlines. Our Maddie Heimsch went to Jefferson County to set the record straight.
Last week, on December 28th, Whitewater's police chief and city manager co-signed this letter to the White House, asking for support in serving their increasingly immigrant population. Now, the letter has gained attention of many who city officials say may not understand the full context. The letter estimates that 800 to 1,000 immigrants have arrived in Whitewater in the past 2 years. Some people took to X and other various sites to express their concern with the situation. Quickly, stock photos of immigrants exiting a bus, references to the Biden administration, and words like dump and flood were being used to describe the situation. Whitewater immigration expert Margaret Wheeler told me it's always more complex than a headline.
It's never a black and white situation. We have amazing immigrants here that we've had here for years that are doing wonderful things in our community.
I spoke to city manager John Wydell, who emphasized the fact that the issue has been ongoing for years. He also said the letter was an attempt to support the immigrant population, not villainize them.
What I believe we're dealing with is nothing other than what everybody else wants, which is to find a place for their family to be safe and have services, to become employed, to find a place to live, and to ultimately have their family and their children be educated, go through the schooling system, and be citizens like everybody else.
Wydell says the city has been addressing the change in population for years in the form of English classes, job fairs, and implementing technological advancements to the police force. He and Police Chief Daniel Meyer said they wrote the letter in hopes to receive additional funding for city and police staffing and translation services for government communication. Wydell says the issue lies in resources, not politics. You can read the letter in full on channel3000.com. Reporting in Whitewater, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
A task force being created by Madison Police will focus on preventing hate crimes. The task force was formed to address bias-motivated threats, harassment, and violence across Madison. Members will investigate reported crimes, assist victims of crimes, and work with community members on what they should look for in a potential hate crime. Each district in the city will be assigned a detective to look at cases with a hate crime enhancer. They'll then report back to the task force about what they saw.
We want everyone, number one, to be safe and to feel that Madison is still a place of inclusivity and of tolerance.
Wisconsin does not have a hate crime charge. Instead, hate crimes are enhancers to other charges. 2 consultants have been hired to analyze new legislative boundary lines in Wisconsin with an hourly rate of $450. They'll be paid up to $100,000 each in taxpayer money under the terms of their contracts made public today. Now, this comes after the Supreme Court in Wisconsin tossed the current Republican-drawn maps. The state director of courts has the authority to exceed the maximum amount if she determines it's necessary. Wisconsin, one of more than a dozen states currently wrestling with challenges to redistricting maps. Previously sealed documents from the Jeffrey Epstein case are now public. They contain excerpts from depositions from Epstein's victims and his partner, convicted sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell. Multiple famous figures are named as being associated with Epstein in those documents, though that doesn't mean there's an indication of wrongdoing. The documents will continue to come out over the next few days. Today, a group of Illinois voters asked the State Board of Elections there to take Donald Trump off the ballot because of his role in the January 6th insurrection. That makes Illinois the latest state where the former president faces a challenge to his candidacy under the 14th Amendment's insurrectionist ban. It comes as the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to review a state court ruling in Colorado that found Trump ineligible for office. A decision from the High Court could settle the matter for the entire nation. Last week, Maine's Secretary of State removed Trump from the primary ballot there. Trump's team appealed that decision in state court on Tuesday. House Democrats say documents show China spent more than $5.5 million at Trump properties while he was president. While he was in office, Trump's lawyer said Trump planned to donate foreign profits from his hotels to the U.S. Treasury. However, the amount Trump Organization reportedly donated in 2017 and 2018 was far short of estimated foreign payments made to his properties. The Trump Organization did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Lawmakers in the state capitol, we all know what their day jobs are, right? But what if they got the proverbial band back together? That's what political reporter Will Keneally wanted to know. He files this report from the Capitol.
We actually have some notable musicians under the Capitol Dome here. During a campaign stop in 2022, we learned that Governor Evers used to play bass with a band called the Romeros back in the day. So as we sat down with politicians over the holidays, we wanted to put that question to them.
So I played the clarinet in high school. I was not very good at it. So just a few years ago, I gave it to my high school back, and I was like, here it is, somebody else be good. But I did sing in the choir, and I did sing in the choir in college, so I'd be open to singing.
Okay. Karaoke, what would be your go-to song then?
I am not sure. I would have to give it some thought. Something with an alto range, though.
All right, so we have at least one clarinet and vocalist. Now, coming up at 6, we'll round out the rest of the band and share who you might want to pair yourself up with for karaoke. Reporting from the Capitol, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
New at 5, women's collegiate summer softball is coming to Madison. The Mallards announced this afternoon a team will debut this year. The team will be part of a softball division of the Northwoods League. That's the same league the Mallards play in. Softball franchises in the league have also been announced for lacrosse, Mankato, Minnesota, and Minot, North Dakota. The team's first game will be June 16th. After the break, we'll get a full look at your first warn forecast with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti, and a unanimous committee vote just changed the way the state parks and forest passes function. A look at what's different next on News 3 Now at 5. And on Wall Street, the Dow with a modest 10-point gain, but the skid continues for the NASDAQ as it loses 82. The S&P 500 down 16. We'll be right back.
Join Dr. Ashish M. Raval on January 11th at 5:30 p.m. to learn about the causes of shoulder pain and pain relief options. To register for the free online educational talk, visit stoughtonhealth.com and click on Classes and Events.
The bag is back at Menards. Get 15% off everything you can fit in the bag, from household items and pet toys to power tools and even your favorite snacks. Get 15% off everything you can fit in the bag. This deal won't last long. Hurry in to get your bag and see how much you can save. Sale ends January 14th.
Save big money at Menards.
Thousands of our heroes face the difficult choice between keeping their heat and power on or facing homelessness. 21,000 Wisconsin veterans are living below the poverty line, many impacted by physical or mental health challenges. Wisconsin loses 3 veterans to suicide every week. Together, our mission is to provide all struggling Wisconsin veterans with a critical survival safety net that keeps them safely in their homes. You can make a real difference by providing a donation to the Wisconsin Heat and Housing for Heroes initiative, with 95 cents of every dollar donated going directly to those right here in your community. Help by visiting www.heatforheroes.org or by calling 1-800-891-9276. That's 800-891-9276.
Hi, my name is David. I've been working hard and not giving up since I was a kid. And I bring that same spirit to Gruber Law Offices. We are fighters, scrappy but respectful, pushing hard for our clients. We know how to win, and we're not afraid to get back up after taking a hit. Advocating for the underdog and pursuing justice. We are just warming up, and we're ready to continue serving Wisconsin with all we've got. One call, that's all.
Join Dr. Ashish M. Raval on January 11th at 5:30 p.m. to learn about the causes of shoulder pain and pain relief options. To register for the free online educational talk, visit stoughtonhealth.com and click on Classes and Events.
A first warn weather alert day is in the forecast for Tuesday for accumulating snow and brisk winds. At 6, I'll let you know what to expect.
Then after a fatal chase, the Monona Police Department is changing its pursuit policy. We have the details tonight at 6.
From damaging drought to catastrophic flooding and severe storms in every season, the News 3 Now First Warn Weather Team gives you a deeper understanding of Wisconsin's ever-changing weather with special reports that go beyond the barometer. Only on News 3 Now.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
New today, the Department of Natural Resources will make annual state parks and forest passes valid for an entire year after their purchase date, thanks to Senate Bill 415. Currently, passes are only valid during the calendar year when they're purchased, so a pass you bought in January costs the same as one bought in December, but both will expire at the same time. This bill passed unanimously out of committee today after being introduced with bipartisan support. Well, if you've started out the new year under the weather a bit, you're not alone. Respiratory season is in full swing. Public Health Madison-Dane County says 1 in 5 ER visits at local hospitals right now are due to respiratory illnesses. If you're not feeling well, they say you should take an at-home COVID test to see if you have the virus. A home test allows you to rule it out since it shares many symptoms with the common cold and flu. In general, you should stay home and get plenty of rest. If you're feeling sick, staying hydrated always crucial. If you feel you're not getting any better after a few days, you should call your primary care provider as you may be ill with something more serious.